The murder of 6-year-old beauty queen John Bené Ramsay in her family's basement 28 years ago sent shockwaves around the world. Her case is still one of the most eerie and unsolved mysteries in American history. Until recently, Burke Ramsey, who was 9 years old at the time, stayed silent. Now, after decades of mystery and speculation, Burke has finally come forward. What he has revealed so far has shocked the world. Why has he waited so long? Could his comments finally reveal the truth about the tragic death of the charming child star John Bené? Come and uncover the truth with us as we uncover the true secret behind the death of the child star. It all began in December 1996, when the holiday season for the Ramsay family became a living nightmare. On December 26th, 6-year-old John Bené Ramsay her life was tragically cut short when she was found dead in the basement of her home in Boulder, Colorado. An autopsy later revealed that her throat had been fractured, and the most bizarre part was the ransom note that was left behind, claiming kidnapping and demanding $118,000 for her return, even though her body had been in. Her father, John Ramsay, had been living in the house for some time when the shocking discovery of his daughter's body in the basement threw the entire family into disarray. The absence of any signs of forced entry, coupled with the strange demands made in a ransom note demanding $118,000, the same amount as a bonus paid to John Ramsay, stoked widespread speculation that the crime scene had not been adequately secured, and the media relentlessly pursued the Ramsay family. In their own home, but in 2006, substantial DNA evidence exonerated the Ramsays. The investigation had previously focused on the possibility of an intruder, but 28 years later, Burke Ramsey, the brother of John Bené Ramsay, gained public attention after genetic material from an unidentified male was discovered on John Bené's clothing. In a shocking turn of events, he finally spoke out in a 3-party interview on Dr. Phil, marking his first public comments since the tragedy. Prior to this, he had remained silent, shocking the world. He had also refused to participate in any interviews or documentaries, even after the release of a new Netflix documentary that explored the case of John Bené Ramsay. He finally spoke out after nearly 30 years of silence, saying, "If the story is going to be told, I want to tell it. I don't want people talking about me. I would rather tell my own story." Dr. Phil asked him a variety of questions about the incident, and his answers illuminated the shocking events of that time, but they had nothing to do with the. During the interview, he discussed his experiences with the police, revealing that he stayed in bed and believed his sister was just hiding when she went missing. As one would expect from a 9-year-old, he was nervous and confused, which caused him to smile at times during the dark moments when the police interrogated him. This was misconstrued as guilt, but it was actually just anxiety. During the interview, Dr. Phil went into detail, reviewing the 911 call tapes with Burke and discussing why he stayed in bed while his family and the police were downstairs. They even went back to the moment Burke learned his sister had died. Not just hiding, but remembering his father telling him she was in heaven, and that was all he understood. Burke's response, as a scared child, was revealed in the never-before-seen interrogation videos that aired on Dr. Phil. Now that he has the courage to publicly confront the speculation and rumors that have dogged him for years, the release of this interview has narrowed the debate to 3 possible scenarios: an intruder, Burke, or both. In an interview with Ramsay's Did It, Burke said that he has read numerous conspiracy theories accusing him of the crime, but that he conducted the interview to set the record straight. For example, why did the police have such faith that the Ramsays would commit such a horrific act against their own daughter, John Bené Ramsay, when she was just 6 years old, found strangled in the basement of their home in Colorado? The initial theory put the Ramsays in the driver's seat, but the crime scene descended into chaos as friends, family, and law enforcement scoured the house for clues. Hours later, John located the body, but the Ramsays were soon under suspicion for other reasons. Just before Patty went missing, John Bené's mom discovered a 1.5-page ransom note demanding $118,000. There were no signs of forced entry, and the ransom note appeared to have originated from inside the house. Suspicion towards the family began when investigators discovered further troubling signs, such as the garrote used to strangle the child, which appeared to have been fashioned from a paintbrush handle. This was close to John's Christmas bonus. Pat's inconclusive handwriting test results on the ransom note raised eyebrows, while the lack of snow-covered footprints or forced entry led police to surmise that whoever committed the act was familiar with or already inside the residence. To make matters worse, her father, John Ramsay, discovered John Bené's body and brought her upstairs. The Ramsays initially hired powerful lawyers and public relations experts within hours of the incident, restricting police access to the house. This reluctance to cooperate with the police gave them the impression that they were evasive and defensive, which many experts later criticized as a damaging error. As a result of the family's behavior and other evidence, the police felt justified in focusing their investigation on the Ramsays as main suspects, leading them to suspect that they were hiding something. However, there was little evidence to back up this suspicion, so it was difficult to establish that the Ramsays were the only ones hiding anything. True crime theorists have long speculated that 9-year-old Burke Ramsey, brother of John Bené, was one of the suspects in the murder of John Bené, and the fact that the Ramsay family had no reason to want to kill their daughter further added to the confusion. Eventually, the police would find evidence clearing the parents. Despite keeping a low profile throughout his childhood, Burke remained out of the public eye when the Ramsay family relocated to Atlanta after the tragic murder. Meanwhile, his parents participated in multiple interviews, defending themselves and calling for additional investigation. In 2008, the Boulder District Attorney formally exonerated the entire Ramsay family. According to the legal records, Burke was interviewed by investigators at least 3 times and testified before a grand jury in 1999. Officials confirmed he was not involved after DNA evidence from John Bené's clothing identified an unknown male, not any family member. DA Mary Lacey subsequently apologized for adding to the public suspicion. This applies to both Burke and the late Patty. He was thought to be a suspect, but tests on his DNA and handwriting came up empty. In 2016, the CBS documentary series The Case of John Bené Ramsay brought up the Burke did it theory again, implying that a childhood accident could have turned deadly, leading to a staged ransom note. In response, Burke sued for defamation, but he eventually settled quietly. In 2019, prior to the airing of this documentary series, Burke made his sole public appearance on Dr. Phil, where he categorically denied any involvement in his sister's murder. Burke believes an intruder, possibly a member of her pageant world, was responsible for her death, but he cannot deny that the police were complicit in the investigation's delay because, in his opinion, they weren't. Despite a ransom note indicating a serious crime, the Boulder Police Department showed unexpected laxity at the scene of the brutal murder of 6-year-old John Bené. Instead of securing the house, non-essential family members, friends, and police were given free rein, contaminating vital evidence. How could this have been handled better? In order to properly collect evidence, such as fingerprints, footprints, and possible DNA, the police neglected to search the entire house. This included the basement wine cellar, where John Bené's body was found. The lone detective on the scene even instructed John Ramsay to begin searching the house for her, leading to confusion between the police and the victim's family. John eventually ended up leading the search. After coming face to face with his daughter's lifeless body, the distraught father cried and feared for his safety as he removed the duct tape and carefully moved the corpse. Retired Boulder Chief Mark Beckner later acknowledged that the initial reaction was disastrous, pointing out that the scene was uncontrolled, the family was not separated, and their statements were contradictory. Not until 5 months later were any measures taken. This was due to a confluence of factors, including holiday staffing shortages, unfamiliar protocol, societal pressures, and a lack of decisiveness. Notable figures, such as former homicide detective Joe Kinder and FBI agent Ron Walker, have voiced similar criticism. Walker characterized the mishandling as catastrophic, claiming that departmental Lieutenant Linda Ant's official report detailed the multiple movements of John Bené's body before preservation measures were taken, sometimes at her request. Kirsch bluntly assessed the situation as destroyed, arguing that the case was irreparably damaged from the start. The lack of proper documentation further demonstrated the incompetence of the leadership. The lack of a controlled forensic examination due to the father's orders only served to heighten the already intense media attention, which in turn spread misinformation, such as the false claims that Patsy refused to reveal Jay's whereabouts or submit her DNA, and contributed to the general public's perception of the situation. The family became the subject of intense media scrutiny, which transformed the coverage of John Bené Ramsay's murder from a journalistic investigation into a never-ending television trial, with the Ramsay family serving as the central and frequently unfair focus. Tabloids and cable news networks relentlessly examined the case, focusing on speculation and ratings rather than evidence. The Ramsays, and Patty in particular, were portrayed as guilty in Geraldo Rivera's staged mock courtroom, which lacked evidence and muddled the line between entertainment and justice. Tabloids mocked the family, claiming that John had misconduct and that Patty had coerced John Bené into participating in beauty pageants. It's surprising that Burke, who was already a media maven at the tender age of 9, never spoke out about the case until 28 years later. The sensationalism surrounding the case was fueled by clinical errors, such as the ransom note matching Jay's bonus and having no. The inconclusive evidence surrounding forced entry was magnified and used as evidence against the world. Additionally, veteran journalists such as Michael Tracy criticized the coverage, comparing it to a public lynching and a media assassination. They condemned the sensationalist tactics that vilified innocent people. Eventually, when the DNA evidence was released, the scrutiny and rumors subsided. New evidence was found, but who is the murderer? In December 2003, forensic experts took a male DNA sample from John Bené's pants and found a mix of ancestry types that ruled out any possible Ramsay ancestry. This sample was submitted to Cody's, but by 2016, improved testing had shown that the original male DNA sample actually consisted of multiple individuals, not just one. The discovery of profiles in various places, such as knickers and jewelry, led investigators to suspect a stranger rather than members of the family. This helped divert suspicion, but it also created a new problem. The police still didn't know who killed his daughter. Now, John Ramsay has admitted that crucial items, such as the gar used to strangle her, were among those discovered. Were sent for testing in early 1997, but came back untested. He still doesn't understand why, even with all the new technology, the Boulder Police Department hasn't authorized testing on the available DNA samples to identify the killer. John Bené's family has been putting pressure on the police to test the DNA again, and he thinks it would be a good idea. John Andrew Ramsay, half-brother of John Bené Ramsay, recently stated in an interview that the case could be solved, that the government isn't doing enough, and that the community was against his family. He asked, "What happened to John Bené?" What happened to John Bené? He expresses his continued determination to find the killer of his younger sister and continues to urge the investigators to do a better job for the benefit of the community. He believes that the community as a whole is to blame for the death of this 6-year-old girl, which occurred while they were watching. It's really important for people to understand that this case can be solved," he said, speaking for John Bené Ramsay. "There's a narrative out there that this is an unsolved homicide, and that we just have to accept that as fact. But that is not the truth. If we leverage the evidence and follow the facts, we will find this killer." He recalled the day he learned that John Bené Ramsay had. John Bené was a rare exception. Unlike Burke, who rarely made public appearances, he spoke openly about his sister and the effect his death had on the family. He was leaving Atlanta, where he had spent the holidays with his mom and sister, to visit his dad's side of the family, when he received a note stating he needed to call home. She was the lively and entertaining child, who kept the dinner table chatter going by greeting each person by name and inquiring about their day. He went on to talk about the hardships their family had to endure, including Patty's stage 4 cancer and the tragic death of their first sibling, Beth, in a car crash. John never imagined that the entire world would turn against him and his family, accusing them of the murder of their youngest daughter. The media spread the rumors, further damaging their already troubled family situation. It wasn't until new DNA evidence surfaced that John was able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And Patty Ramsay, who spent 10 years fighting accusations, were finally released. Ramsay stated, "We lost our sister and our daughter, a family member. We were victims, and the very people we thought were going to come in and protect us were pointing the finger at us. We were just regular people. And then suddenly, in spite of everything that has happened to them, the Ramsay family is still fighting for justice in the nearly 30-year-old case of John Bené's murder in 1996. In January 2025, John Ramsay met with Stephen Redern, the new police chief of Boulder, and expressed renewed determination to see that justice is served. Chief Redfern's transparency and leadership restored his faith in the justice system after years of being ignored. Meanwhile, unreleased interview tapes from 1998 featuring John and Patty Ramsay surfaced, revealing that prosecutors had been focusing solely on discrepancies in their statements, rather than exploring other possible leads or suspects. According to John Ramsay, the investigators failed to consider various pieces of evidence, including the homemade Garrett ransom note and blanket, because they were focused on the parents. Ramsay also claims that the Boulder Police Department has refused to use advanced genetic genealogy techniques, which have been successful in solving cases such as the Golden State Killers. Chief Redfern publicly stated that all viable leads, including DNA testing, are being thoroughly investigated, and he supported his requests by meeting with police, the district attorney, and lawmakers. In November 2022, the Boulder Police Department partnered with the Colorado Cold Case Review Team. Since then, they have digitized thousands of tips and interviews, inventoried 25,500 pieces of evidence, and created a searchable database. The family has been working on identifying the killer of John Bené, but John, who is still frustrated, has petitioned the governor of Colorado to intervene and release evidence to independent labs in the hopes that new DNA testing could identify his killer. A recent Netflix documentary series has brought even more attention to these untested items and has reignited public interest in the case. After earning a degree in computer technology from Purdue University, 37-year-old Burke has lived a low-key life in Michigan as a software engineer. He has avoided the spotlight for as long as he can remember, and he even turned down an opportunity to star in a Netflix documentary series in 2024, citing his history of unfair treatment by the media as his reason. John Andrew Ramsay, who is in his 50s and the older half-brother of the Ramsay sisters, recently appeared in a Netflix documentary series in which he defended his father, John, and stepmother, Patty, while simultaneously criticizing the Boulder police. Andrew has long been an outspoken supporter of his sister's case, and in 2008, When DNA evidence proved that John and Patty were innocent, everyone assumed that there would be a comfort for the family, but the murderer remained a mystery. Patty passed away in July 2011, 15 years after John Bené's death. In Cherryville, Michigan, 5 years after Patty's passing, 67-year-old John wed fashion designer Jan Rousseau of Las Vegas. Jan had 2 adult daughters from her childhood in East Africa and believed in John's innocence. The couple now maintains a blended family across. Leave a comment telling us if you think the killer will ever be found in Michigan or Utah, or if you think too much time has passed for justice to be served. Thank you for watching, and until next time.